Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Trump Tyranny Tracker. Olga and I are busy discussing what happens if power goes out because of the incredible heat that's we're all experiencing in the Northeast and here in Canada as well. Boy, it's a sweltering time. I mean, it is. My air conditioning is cranked full up, and it is hot in here. So I stepped outside for a few minutes earlier on, and the sun was glaring so much. What's it like where you are, Olga?
I mean, we're supposed to reach upwards of like 105, and it's supposed to,
Wow.
and it's supposed to, it's hot. It's same thing. Like, it's hot in the house, hot everywhere, and it's just like get this over with.
Well, at least it's a summer. I always like the summer. It's better than the winter for me. Welcome everyone. Are you the opposite? You like the winter? Um, Welcome everybody. It's so good to see so many people join us on this sweltering hot day. It's probably hot where you are, and it's certainly hot in the world as tensions rise. As we have this incredible appearance today by Donald Trump making this incredible statement. I've never heard a president of the United States utter the words "don't know what the fuck they're doing" in reference to Iran and to Israel. Let's talk a little bit about that. That is a remarkable thing that the U.S. president came out, and then afterwards on Truth Social, he does. Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do it, is a major violation. I mean, this is not how anything is conducted in America. Certainly, you don't do foreign policy like this over Truth Social. It's just unbelievable. What is your take?
I mean, the whole thing is just so absurd, and we're in like the most insane timeline. I just want to go back to where politics was the most boring snooze fest, where they debated like taxes, and you couldn't watch C-SPAN because you'd fall asleep after a minute. I mean, the whole
Sleepy
thing is
Joe
absurd.
sounds pretty good now, actually.
I mean, really, like, and the media was so like agitated that, Joe Biden was actually doing his job and not,
Yeah.
being a jester in a palace, and constantly creating theater. And here we are with this. I mean, the whole thing from Saturday to now is just absurd. Launching a war and announcing it on Truth Social. I mean, who does this? Like, what?
No,
Where,
never before.
cursing today, and I laughed for a second because he like now is both siding Israel and Iran, and now it's like Israel is getting the Ukraine treatment, like both of you, not like the whole thing is just so absurd. And I mean, it's interesting. The one thing I'll say about all of this is Republicans, all of them from Trump on down, took such a victory lap immediately. I mean, oh, this is the most successful operation and whatnot. And first of all, I, I wrote on Twitter, like, I would not be celebrating success because, yes, it might look successful today. We don't know what's going to happen down the line because the Iranian regime is not one that's going to say, oh, well, we lost and just walk away from it. They're like the Russians, and they're going to, use a ceasefire to regroup, and then they can attack in asymmetric ways, at any point, anywhere in the world. So, I mean, I would not be taking a victory lap. And second, I mean, the fact that they're shoving this, we destroyed the nuclear program, as everyone is saying that, there is 800 pounds of enriched uranium and potentially centrifuges missing.
Mm.
This is the problem. And then the third, he announced the ceasefire. And then, I mean, what took a few minutes, hours before
But
the
an hour, I think,
ceasefire.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. And now he's off to angry, cursing, and on his way to Europe to humiliate us at the NATO summit. So, I mean, we're going to have a lot more
It's,
humiliation.
yeah, it feels to me like, this thing was falling apart so quickly on him and on the GOP that he was facing a lot of pressure to just yank it. And he basically told both sides, you have to stop, because this was a bit of theater at the end of the day, as we noted, and this notion of sending these missiles to these bases and warning the Americans and warning the Qataris and then not really hitting anything. I mean, this was This was theater, really. It was a theatrical show response to the initial attack. But even that seemed like theater because they had so much time to clear out the uranium and the subterfuges, as you point out. So I think Trump was just that was becoming so apparent to everybody that this was theater and expensive theater and potentially very risky theater that he just basically had to pull the plug. And that's why he came out this morning saying don't screw up my ceasefire because I'm already screwed.
And I can tell you, I dealt for a few years with Syrian opposition. And I got, a taste of a very good lesson on how the Iranians and the IRGC works, the
Right.
tactics they used inside of Syria alongside Russia and Assad's forces, to torture, to carry out terrorist attacks, to destabilize, Syria and the rest of the region. I mean, they have so many proxies. They have so many agents around the world. I mean, everywhere reaching, their tentacles reach everywhere, to the point I even mentioned prior. I'm in New York, and a few years ago, there's an Iranian dissident, living in Brooklyn, New York, and she, the Iranian regime hired Russian basically mafia to try to assassinate her. There were two plots. First plot was to kidnap her and send her back to Iran so she could face execution. That plot didn't go through, and then they hired thugs to, show up and
Wow.
just to kill her. And they have tentacles like the Russians stretched across, and the worst part is that they collaborate with the Russians. In Syria, you know, they ran two bases and then one in Iraq, joint command centers with Russia's military intelligence, the IRGC, and Assad forces. So they collaborate with the Russians very closely. They can network with them. Russia is excellent at cyber attacks. Iran is excellent at cyber attacks. And then China is one of their main partners. So, I mean, I would not be taking a victory lap, honestly, if I were Trump or frankly any president, because we already saw Bush, standing mission accomplished. And then
Yes.
20 years later, we're still in the Middle East and absolutely nothing was accomplished except that we lost trillions of dollars. So
It does remind me a lot of that mission accomplished moment, as you pointed out yesterday. And the alliance with Russia is one that's so important, of course, because Putin is, aligned with Trump. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they're sort of, working in partnership together. And Putin's in partnership with Iran. It's easy to see how those things triangulate to coordinate these kinds of things. I don't think that these are, separate entities. You disagree? That's good. But I think that this was a thought out, choreographed exercise between those three parties. And I think the tell there for me was the fact that they avoided the Russian, the nuclear base with the Russian scientists. I mean, that clearly indicates that they negotiated with the Russians beforehand. So the Russians were aware of everything that was coming. The Israelis obviously were part of it, and Iran knew what was coming as well because they had enough time to move those centrifuges and the uranium. So this little theater thing suggests that there's some coordination there between those three parties.
Honestly, I disagree on that point
We
only
can.
because the Russians are very close with the Iranians. The Russians are furious what is happening there because this is the one thing they don't need is to lose another partner after just losing Assad. Netanyahu, it's been his dream for decades to take out Iran. I mean, this is something he's like Bolton salivating, for decades and decades, and he found a putz in the White House, and he's like, "Oh, let me sell it on this one," and ended up getting that. As far as warning of the Russians, this is typical protocol. Every single U.S. president, if they're operating in theater, that is not directed, the last thing they want to do is, end up causing an international incident by killing 600 Russians. The Russians did speak with Netanyahu and told them, and I remember in Syria, there were many U.S. operations under several presidents, and every time U.S. would conduct military operations, they would tell the Russians ahead of time, you know, clear out. We're going to be operating in this because they don't want to drop a bomb and end up destroying, Russian planes or Russian military, because then that draws them into a war with Russia. So I honestly don't think so. I think that the yesterday was theater by Iranians. This was 100% theater. But look, if you are, take America, for instance, if the Russians attack America and start dropping missiles, and targeting our nuclear facilities and other military installations. Day one, the first thing you would do is start moving things out. I mean, they didn't need to wait. The minute the first Russian bombs fell that Thursday night, our time, Friday morning, their time, the Iranians very quickly, and maybe even before that, started moving their enriched uranium. We don't know what kind of tunnel they have. But yesterday was theater because Iran right now is so wounded, and they're like the Russians. They have the same mentality. They operate the same tactics, same terrorist mentality. The Iranians are wounded, and the best way is not to escalate and have, now American forces, bombing all of Iran, but to say, look, we need to retaliate for our own to keep our regime. Um, but we don't want to kill anyone, and that's it. But this is not the end of the story, because the Russians have done this before. When they suffer battle losses, they will retreat, and then they will strike you at the least time that anyone is expecting. So, Iran just wants to buy itself time right now to regroup. I mean, get their supreme leader Khamenei out of the bunker for starters, um, and
You
and
may never
to
leave. Yeah.
yeah, and to regroup, but
Mm.
again, this is not over for the Iranians, because they will seek revenge for this. And whether it takes 3 months, a year, 5 years, they will get their revenge on this.
I could debate this with you for a long time, but I'm not going to debate it right now, because let's move on to the other stuff that's on the Trump tyranny tracker for day 155 of the Trump administration as we continue to cover authoritarian creep. The Supreme Court quietly lifted a block on Trump's policy allowing migrants to be disappeared to third countries without hearings. Justice Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson dissented, calling the policy flagrantly unlawful and warning of due process collapse. This decision effectively greenlights the administration to secretly remove people from the U.S. soil without legal protections, creating what critics describe as a parallel deportation system operating outside of traditional court oversight. This is a remarkable ruling by the court.
Yeah, yesterday, as everyone was watching this theater with the Middle East. I mean, this is one of the main rulings that came out, and this is honestly, it was expected from the Supreme Court, but this opens up a lot of powers for Trump, to basically eliminate due process for people on American soil. And I mean, the fact that the Supreme Court sided with Trump on this is just, frankly, I mean, this is a big problem.
Yeah, it tells you where the Supreme Court really is. The majority in the Supreme Court, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not very reliable in terms of protecting the rule of law, and it's never going to be there, I don't think, during the Trump administration. So, it's really sad this particular ruling went through. It leaves many people stranded in countries that they don't know anything about. I mean, there could be, as you know, we know about El Salvador, but there's also Sudan now and Libya and all, just the worst places in the world that they're sending people to, and those people without any constitutional protections are being sent there legally now, I guess, because the Supreme Court says it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this ruling really got me upset, because this is it's at the heart of the Constitution and providing due process for every person on U.S. soil. It's not just for American citizens, it's anyone on U.S. soil that they have to, receive their due process. And this clearly strips people from their due process. And then, like you said, sends them, God knows, into war zones, torture chambers, gulags. I mean, it's very disappointing, and it's really a dangerous path that.
It is, because the courts have been holding up pretty well, but we're beginning to see signs of erosion in that, with the decision by the Ninth Circuit Appeals Court and now the Supreme Court in this decision. You sort of are beginning to see how the courts are beginning to collapse a little bit on resisting, and it's one of the biggest signs of authoritarian creep. Staying on the deportation and detention side of things, FEMA will help fund new immigration detention centers in Florida, including one called Alligator Alcatraz, a remote Everglades site surrounded by swamps and predators. State officials boast it'll house up to 5,000 detainees with no way in and no way out. This represents a massive expansion of detention infrastructure designed to isolate and contain immigrants in deliberately harsh conditions, using federal disaster relief funds to build what amounts to punishment facilities, to build prisons, basically. This is unbelievable.
I mean, really. So FEMA is supposed to be used for wildfire and, natural disasters and hurricanes. We're in the midst of hurricane season right now, and they're pulling funds from FEMA because Trump had gone over his budget on, mass deportations for these prisons that amount to gulags. I mean, this is disgusting. And this is a human rights, how you call it, what is it called?
Violation.
Violation.
Mm.
I mean, you don't treat people like this. And again, America used to be the one going around the world, fighting for human rights and due process for people and whatnot. And here they are like literally wanted to build something surrounded by swamps and alligators and just throw people in there. And
And
this goes, sorry, to finish, this goes to the bigger point. Every detention center right now is horrible. I mean, people don't have food, they don't have water. You have an increase of deaths in ICE facilities. And then you have Congress who's not allowed to go into them because DHS, changed the laws.
It's just so off mission for FEMA to be doing something like this. This is not what FEMA does. FEMA rescues and helps people. It doesn't detain and imprison them in harsh conditions. It seems ridiculous to be using that budget for that. Republican lawmakers introduced at least 8 bills to honor Trump while he's still in office, including renaming Dulles Airport, rebranding DC's metro system, I love this one, as WMAGA, and printing $250 bills with his face on it. While unlikely to pass, these proposals signal the complete transformation of a political party into a personality cult, one of the biggest features of authoritarian creep. It's very funny, though.
I mean,
WMAGA.
if you go to Russia, everything is put in billboards. Like everything is always with honoring thy leader. I'm shocked that they haven't proposed putting gold statues in every single town square around America of Trump.
It's coming.
But
it's coming in Gaza. They had that thing in that video. Remember for Trump Gaza, they had a big giant Donald Trump. They'll put it somewhere. There'll be one before the end of his administration.
But this is how dictators think. And the fact that you have, we have serious issues right now. I mean, really serious issues across the country between, services that Americans aren't receiving. They gutted Social Security. And I mean, the wait times, they even removed the wait times, because they don't want to let people know how bad it is. And this is what Congress is focused on. The fact that they're focused on honoring thy leader and, creating a freaking $250 bill with his face on it, which at the rate that he's taking us, no one will even ever see a $250.
It'll probably be worth $2.50 by the time he's finished, the way the dollar's going.
But this is typical, like a dictator stuff, and it's just disgusting that this is what Congress is focused on. Frankly, I would call Congress, and everyone should, to tell them, like, this is not what we are paying your salary for. Like, we didn't send you to, make name a train station after Trump or Dulles Airport after Trump or, the other things to show fealty to Trump. Like, this is not why you're there.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the next big battle is, of course, the big beautiful bill is what they're calling it. But that's he's pushing that through, and it's going to be a mess.
Update on that. Senate apparently stripped the Trump restricting judges out of that big beautiful bill.
Ah, that's good. You see, Senate does some really good things. Senate is like the last safety stop for everything in this current world that we're living in.
Once in a while.
Next tonight at 8 p.m., we'll be back to do our 4th installment of the Authoritarianism 101 Summer Seminar Series. Yes, and?
We forgot one more.
Did we?
Story.
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry.
This
what did we
is
forget?
An important one.
Okay. I didn't even know what it is. So you
All
tell me what
right.
it is.
So Trump and what's his name? Sean Hannity,
Ah, yes, sorry, right.
in their victory lap, started sharing like, fabricated videos and disinformation. And then it was being pushed, like in a organized concerted fashion through social media, through Fox News. And this was in regards to the Trump's war on Iran and the fact that they were using, fake videos and like a fake bombing video to put out disinformation. And on top of, other disinformation, this is extremely dangerous because you have the president, sitting with a whole like organized effort to spread disinformation and fake videos on something that really affects America's national security. Because, if we go to war with Iran, we need to go to war with Iran on facts, not on fake videos, not on disinformation. And it just shows you, this is what happens in Russia. I mean, I can't
This
even
is
tell
very
you.
Kremlin-y. I was about to say, remember that Putin did that thing, I think it was NBC News, where he had video game footage of attacks in Ukraine or something like that at the start of the Ukrainian war. And it was proven to be video games. So, for Sean Hannity and Donald Trump to be doing the same kind of thing, fake videos, it almost feels like it's come directly out of the Kremlin propaganda machines. It certainly feels like the same kind of playbook. Wow, that's incredible. Sean Hannity, by the way, used to be considered a news anchor in this world. So tonight, back to this topic of 8 p.m., we're going to be doing Authoritarianism 101, the fourth installment, and it's a great night tonight. So tell us a little bit about what people can expect, and then they've got until 7 p.m. tonight to register.
So tonight we're going to deal with two tactics. One is the creation of a police state and, taking control of the military and other networks in order to create a police state to quash dissent. And the other is surveillance, the building of a surveillance state. We're going to make comparisons, of what's happening here versus I could talk about how what happens in Russia. Um, on the Substack, like the post I have right now up. There's a registration link, or you can go to Narativ, Narativ
TIV,
dot
yes.
org.
Good job.
And there's a and there's a registration link there. So tonight we'll be doing the fourth session and can't wait.
Yeah, and I'll be diving into some of my research about the surveillance state that's being built right now with the Palantir and Starlink, all the stuff that Doge has been doing. And for the first time, I'm going to try to bring all those investigations together so people can really see how comprehensive a surveillance system is being built right now to control America's minds, control America's actions, and also to control our elections, which is really, one of the most concerning parts of what they'll be doing. So that's all at 8 o'clock tonight for paid subscribers of both Trump Tyranny Tracker and Unmasking Russia or narrative.org. There you go. That's a mouthful,
Any
but
of them.
any of them or all of them, join them all. Become a paid subscriber. We'll take it. We will see you tomorrow. Otherwise, if you're not joining us tonight, and at 3 o'clock in 35 minutes, I'll be back with Dean Blundell with the 5 Stack, the top 5 stories of the day, right here on Substack.
And just to answer one question, we don't record these sessions because some people feel uncomfortable having it recorded. We do it on Google Meet, but we do send out slides for everything we discussed the following day for anyone who's registered.
And what's great is that you get to see everybody and talk to everybody on video. So you get to really get a sense of what people are facing, the challenges they're facing, and the community upswing, which is really happening around the country as people prepare for the next round of protests. Everyone should subscribe to the Trump Tyranny Tracker from Olga Lautman. Do it as a paid subscribe because she does great work. And we shall see you tonight.
Narrative.org.
And narrative.org. I always welcome them. We'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock. Please join us. It's going to be a really interesting session. Have a good day. Olga, we'll see you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.